So folks, I know some people might find it difficult to accept, irrespective of the process we just went through, that in the Income Tax Act, a natural person is the name of a non-living corporation. Most people would read individual means a natural person, presume they know what a natural person is, presume they're a natural person, and say, well, I'm an individual then, as far as this act is concerned. Individual means a natural person. Most people would look at that and determine that they already know what a natural person is, and that they are a natural person, and that therefore they're an individual for the purposes of this act. And what we need to do is look for a definition of natural person in this act. The combined phrase natural person isn't defined, so what we then need to do is look for a definition of natural and a definition of person. Person includes a company. You need to know the rules of statutory interpretation. The relevant rule determines that when you use the word include, that word is restrictive in its application. So if you say that something includes and then list certain things that are included, that list of included items is restrictive, not expansive. Only those things listed are included. When it says person includes a company, that really means person means a company, and only a company. Person means a company. Well, what is a company? Company means a body corporate or any other unincorporated association or body of persons. If you understand what corporations are, you would know that a body of persons is an unincorporated association. So when it says any other unincorporated association or body of persons, they're the same thing. The one term, body corporate, encompasses all those three terms. We could break that down to company means a body corporate, because body corporate includes the other two terms. Folks, going back to where we started, the definition of individual. Individual means a natural person. So we were looking for definitions of the terms natural and person to get a deeper knowledge of what that truly means. And we found that person includes a company, and that when you understand the rules of construction of law, that is translated to person means a company. I also had a definition of company, is company means a body corporate. We discussed how a body corporate, an unincorporated association, and a body of persons are all interchangeable terms. They all mean the same thing. Thus far, what we have broken this down to is, we've still got this, individual means a natural. Now we know what person means. Person means a company, and company means a body corporate. Our definition reads this: individual means a natural body corporate. Now we have to go and find out what natural means in the Income Tax Assessment Act. And in the middle we have natural resource. So no actual definition of natural, but a definition of natural resource, which is natural resource means minerals or any other non-living resource of the land, seabed or sea. Let's take that definition and see if we can derive from that a definition of natural. I want to break the rest of this definition down into two parts. Minerals or any other non-living resource. Is a mineral part of the group non-living resource? Well, I think we could all agree that a mineral is non-living. My point is, you don't need to mention minerals separately. If you just say natural resource means any non-living resource, that includes minerals, doesn't it? So why list it separately? It's a deliberate ploy to include as much verbiage in our definition as possible to confuse those who have difficulty breaking the definition down. That's why they put all this extra wording in there. We can put this in there. This can be part of our new definition, our reducted definition, and it loses none of the meaning. Natural resource means any non-living resource. Would that include minerals? Yes, it would. Of the land, seabed or sea. Tell me what natural resource isn't either of the land, the seabed or the sea. I want to suggest to you there's none. That's just excess verbiage as well. This doesn't need to be added in there. It doesn't change anything by being there. Because it doesn't limit the definition in any way, it has no meaning. And that's not necessary. Please just pause the video if you need to and tell me, is there anything that you would include under the first definition that wouldn't also be included by this second reducted definition? I think you'll find there's nothing. Everything that this definition would include, this definition will also include. Let's break this down a bit further, because remember, what we're looking for is the meaning of natural. What's another term we could use for means? Well, another term for means would be equals. If something means something, it equals it. They're the same. So natural resource equals non-living resource, doesn't it? According to this, in the end, the natural resource is a non-living resource. If something was on both sides of the equation, you could remove it and be left with a true statement, couldn't you? Well, resources on this side of the equation and resources on this side of the equation. So if we remove it from both sides of the equation, we're left with a statement that's nonetheless true. So what's natural for the Income Tax Assessment Act? Natural means non-living. But let's just do a common sense test now. Go back to this original definition and let's just see if natural means non-living. Let's choose something living because we're saying natural equals non-living. So let's select something that is living and see if it's captured by this definition. If this definition captures something that is living, then what I've said here is wrong. So let's pick a fish. According to that definition, is a fish a natural resource? Well, according to this definition, a natural resource is a mineral. Is a fish a mineral? No, it's not. And a natural resource is also a non-living resource. Is a fish non-living? No, a fish is living. So a fish is not a natural resource in this definition. Go and select as many other living resources that you know of and test them against this definition. Try a tree, as many as you need to convince yourself that what this definition is telling you is that in the Income Tax Assessment Act, natural means non-living. Let's take this natural equals non-living and let's go back up here to where we got to with our definition of individual. Individual means a natural body corporate. Didn't make a lot of sense at the time, did it? But if we now look at this and say, well, natural equals non-living, if we substitute this, non-living, in the definition for natural, we get individual means a non-living body corporate. Again, let's apply the common sense test. Is a body corporate living or non-living? Well, a body corporate's non-living. It's a fiction of law. So again, it fits with the common sense test. So that is what the term individual means in the Income Tax Assessment Act. Individual means a non-living body corporate. What this does demonstrate is how they use overly wordy definitions and definitions that multiple definitions that link together and substitution of terms for definitions to deceive you. Most people would read individual means a natural person, presume they know what a natural person is, presume they're a natural person, and say, well, I'm an individual then, as far as this act is concerned. But if you look at that, are you a non-living body corporate? If you're not, then you're not an individual for the purposes of the Income Tax Assessment Act. These definitions and this breakdown of these definitions does only apply to the Income Tax Assessment Act 1997. I'm sure you'll find similar methodologies used in other acts in Australia and in other jurisdictions around the world. This is a methodology that they've employed for a long, long time. So folks, I know some people might find it difficult to accept, irrespective of the process we just went through, that in the Income Tax Act, a natural person is the name of a non-living corporation. I don't blame them for this scepticism. And if that's the only evidence we've got, then perhaps they're right to be sceptical. But it's not the only evidence we've got. In the video you see there on the screen now, name part 2, what does your surname mean? In that video you will see that the Australian Securities Investment Commission, ASIC, the corporate regulator, identified to us that when it writes the name of a corporation, it writes it in all capital letters. And in doing so, it wrote the surname in all capital letters, which is a tacit admission by them that the surname is the name of a corporation. In the video name part 11, a dead man's name, we noted that the legal name is the name of a deceased estate, and a deceased estate is a corporation. And there are other videos and other evidences in the video. The name that you use every day is the name of a corporation. I highly recommend, if you haven't looked at them, you look at the playlist for name and the playlist concerning tax, because they dovetail into each other perfectly. There's one other video I'd suggest you look at where we analyse whether a man or woman who pays income tax is actually a slave. The clear answer is yes. If you pay income tax, you are a slave. Here's the thing though, under international law, slavery is a crime. So if income tax was slavery, then those imposing it could face lengthy jail sentences for involuntary servitude. It's not slavery, because the name you operate in all day, every day, is the name of a corporation. And a corporation can't be a slave because a corporation doesn't have any real existence. It's a fiction of law. So again, this is why they can't tax a living man or woman, because to do so is slavery, and then they could be up on charges. They avoid a charge of slavery by having you, unbeknownst to yourself, act in the name of a corporation all day, every day, believe you are that corporation for your entire life, and that then entitles them to tax you, it's them facing a charge of slavery.